let's reset. You're checking out Weekend at Gabe's Weekend Gabe, the real Sam Crane joining me. To my right, and we have a fabulous guest that's joining us, and we're going to pull in just a few seconds. Vanessa Ortiz, also known as Ness Heads, joins us here on Weekend at Gabe's. Good evening. How are you?
What up? I am good. My day's finally done, so I'm leaving it with you guys.
Nice. No? We're glad to be here to bring it home for you.
Yes, please bring it back.
we both are living life outside of this show, so today was a really rough day, but I'm glad it was a gorgeous day though. It was just like it was nice to open up the windows and just kind of like let the Rona air blow through your house.
I mean, you guys need that.
Yeah, no, we need that. But you have been out on the West Coast. Yes. Tell us about why you're out there. You look like you're in the studio right now. Tell us about the trip, the journey.
So I got here last December, and I moved. So me and my producer, we moved in together in California. We both lived in Chicago, and it was just, I think, that time of like getting away from distractions. I feel like I had already done, I guess, what I could in Chicago. And I needed that change of scenery. Also low-key just kind of wanted to get away from all the chaos and better fucking weather. So we made the trip. And then right when we got here, everything shut down, which was crazy to see because there's so many people here and it was just like ghost town, you know? But that helped me just kind of focus and just understand what I'm here for, you know, and that's to make music. It's not to go out and have fun. It's more just to kind of focus and not get distracted by everything else. But I'm glad I made the move when I did, because I feel like if I didn't and COVID happened, I would have probably still been in Chicago.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel, breaking out of the shell and getting out to California for that focus. It seems like it's like the right exact time for you. And it's like focused you in that way. And the new project is out. Ghosts on Lubao. Did I get that right?
The name right? Wait, how did you who told you about the name?
You did. I've been watching your social media for like 3 months. And I was on the radio playing the tracks going Lubao, Lubao, Lubao. And I finally fixed myself. Talk about, was that all made in LA or were you working on that in Chicago before you left?
Let me see what song. There was 2 songs on there that we started in Chicago and finished here. One of them was FSU, which we had been beating our heads with that one forever, trying to just like get it to where we thought it needed to be. But then we finally got to a place with that where we're like, this is what the song is. I think that's just what it is. We keep messing it up. It's just not going to be it. So that one and then Crazy. I started it over there, the main melody, and then we finished it over here. But everything else was made here. So you kind of see that transition of like what we were kind of going through and just like a lot of change and a lot of emotions. And I think you can hear that through the entire project.
Yeah.
How long have you been in California?
A year now.
Oh, when you said like you arrived right before the shutdown, like you literally mean like right before the world ended.
Legit. Like I think I had gone out, like I took January to settle in, get all my stuff figured out. And then February, I think I finally made it out. And then as soon as we went out that weekend, everything else that weekend was like, there's a huge pandemic. We should start shutting down. And LA took it real serious. Like when everyone was still kind of going out in Chicago and stuff, I'm like, the gyms are closed. Like we can't even go in outdoor dining. And they did all that before anyone else did. So we were shut down.
Yeah. They were, I remember, not to talk too much about it, but I remember watching a lot of the news and like people were kind of like championing LA and New Jersey as being like the places that were like doing everything right and like were low for what it was at the time, but then somehow it still exploded over the summer. But that wasn't unique to you guys at all, but across the country itself as more people just ventured outside. But like how did that change the way that you were approaching the writing for this record? And because I know like with the isolation, I'm pretty sure your mental health probably suffered during this point as well. So how did you stay motivated to continue to keep writing, performing, or was that the motivation itself to keep busy, just keep recording?
Yeah, I think that was the motivation. Like for me, usually when I start writing music, it's coming from a place where I'm like in pain or like just uncomfortable, and like that's where it goes into music. So if anything, I think it helped motivate me more and just like keep going, keep writing. Being here though helped just because if I wanted to get away, I can like go up to a mountain, sit there for a while by myself, chill, read, you know, like it gave me more healthy options than if I were at home, I'd just probably be drinking and like, that's what we do in Chicago, you know? That's
yeah, you go to the basement, you get yourself your, what is that, Pabst Blue Ribbon? Yeah, that's what we do out here.
Whatever you can throw in the mix, I'm taking
it.
But no, so that just helped me kind of stay in my motion. And I guess I use that more as an escape, you know?
Yeah. You've been able, so there, I was reading that the music you make is described as pop trap. Are you comfortable with that label?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so hard nowadays because in a lot of artists, like new artists who you see such a blend of genres that like there's so many subgenres that we haven't made a thing yet. And like, I think that's hurting a lot of people. So I particularly, I go with that. Yeah. I mean, it is very pop trap, you know, and like, that's kind of what I grew up on. So
I would throw some grunge in there for sure.
Yeah.
I saw a couple of your tweets earlier this week talking about the Nirvana influence, Kurt Cobain. Talk about some of that music that you grew up with and who are your favorite artists and why you rocked with that.
So Nirvana, I didn't really start listening to Nirvana until like high school, I would say. And then I just got like crazy obsessed. Like I remember my first year I went to DePaul and I was commuting my first year. And every time I would take the bus, I would just put on my Nirvana and it was just on repeat. And I think it's become kind of like a comfort for me. So every single day I make sure I listen to at least like 20 minutes of just Nirvana and like get those melodies stuck in my head. But that's a huge influence. Growing up, we grew up in like West Humble Park area. So like the early parts of my life were very hip hop influenced. And that's all we listened to, you know? Like anything that went outside of that, you would get made fun of in lower club, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
So if I did like Britney Spears, I had to keep that hush and like hide the CD under my pillow because I'd get torn apart. But that was a huge influence. Also, my parents being immigrants from Mexico, like there's a lot of Spanish music playing in the house. So I think a combination of all that, and then later on in life, we moved to like a suburb. So that's where I got more of like my pop, like alternative type sound. And now it's just, I think, like a big mesh of that.
We were talking to another Shakira, Brian, remember, Sam, and it was like the same thing as well. It was like she doesn't like make kind of like this traditional R&B music that you think of. There's a lot of variety, a lot of fusion incorporated, and the same thing could be said about a lot of your recording as well. You take a lot of different elements, and I think I was reading an interview from a few years ago, and you were in Elmwood Park at the time, and you were saying like that's where you kind of learned how to make melodies or like incorporate some of that grunge and alternative rock into your music. So talk about like that time during like Elmwood Park and like why like I guess that was probably the time when that's all you were probably digesting before you went to Elmwood Park.
Shout out Elmwood Park, Old World Pizza, Alpine Sandwich House.
I miss food so much. Being in LA, like I've learned they don't know how to cook. They don't. Compared to Chicago, it's like night and day. But in Elmwood Park, I guess we were listening to a lot of like Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, Taking Back Sunday, Blink 182, and like that's when I really got introduced to that and became almost like reborn into my emo self.
Right. Yeah.
I embraced it. I'm still pretty emo. I saw this tweet the other day that it's like I think I've hit the age where I realized I'm just emo for life, and I think that's where I'm at. But just like being introduced to all that again got me obsessed with it. Just easy melodies that just get stuck in your head, and like the words too. You just, especially being a teen going through that, like heartbreak, you feel it so much deeper, you know? So I think that's carried on into just who I am as an artist.
Absolutely.
I'm a crybaby bitch, I guess. But I embrace it.
What's some of hip hop where you like checking for or like artists that kind of help, I don't want to say your style, but like, you know, things that you were picking up as listening to hip hop? Because we talked to a lot of different MCs and artists, and they always say like there's something that they're taking away from something they're listening to and adopting it and molding it into what the music that they do. Or what were some of the things that you were checking for?
I would say when I started paying more attention to like how to develop my sound, when I was trying to develop my sound, and when I started studying more, the artists I was looking at more were like Sway Lee, like people who kind of fit my style, like Sway Lee, XXX, who else? Even Kid Laroi now, like he inspires the fuck out of me. He's so young and like just starting off, you know. But I look a lot for those newer like melodic type rappers and just kind of listen to those. Like Sway, for a minute last year, I think it was, every single day I tried to at least get 15 minutes of Sway melody just on a shuffle, because again, those are like, he does it so well with being able to take like not only just real hip hop, but Beatles and like kind of transform that into those types of melodies that he's making. So I would say those are more of the hip hop artists that I paid attention to more in terms of studying.
Word. I want to get back to the record real quick. The first song that I ever heard from you, actually Monica Rose, who we also had on the show, put me on to the song.
She's dope.
Yeah, she's amazing. But Brown's Annie and the video, and I literally, and I shit you not, I used to live with two other dudes, and I sat down one day and I'm like, hey, play this video. And they put it on the screen, and we all sat there, jaw like on the floor, just like for the entire thing. Awesome. I following your social media over the past sort of time since then. I heard some early vocals that you shared for that record. Talk about the mental space that you were in for that project and where sort of the exigence came from.
Yeah. So Brown's Annie, that one, man, I remember making that track like it was yesterday. So it was in June, and when I left Chicago, a lot of like with my relationship, it kind of just like blown up in my face, and like shit was really chaotic. So I feel like I ran away from that. And with Brown's Annie, I think it hit a point where I was just kind of like so over everything. Like my mental state, I think, was at an all-time low. I think that was 3 months into the pandemic.
Something like that, something like June, July, something.
Yeah, and I felt so down and depressed. Like I legit just wanted to sleep all day, you know? So when we were sitting out there, or I was sitting outside, Drew was in here playing the guitar, and he started playing that melody on the guitar. And I think I was very in a state of like, I wanted Annie to just knock out. So that was just kind of stuck in my head. And I think I was singing Fall Out Boy melodies on top of what he was doing. And then it kind of just turned into a Brown's Annie melody. Like right before that, I think I was studying a lot of Joan Jett too. So I was trying to get more familiar, like in the beginning, playing with space and just like slowing it down a little bit. So I think that's where that first melody came from. And then like the chorus of the Brown's Annie part, I think was more influenced from like Fall Out Boy type melodies.
Right.
But it was a good release. I will say that. Like that song is when my anxiety was really acting up, and putting that song and Crazy on were like my way to calm myself down.
Yeah.
That does writing about heartbreak, does that really help the soul, or is it just more of a way to release?
I would say when you're going through the heartbreak right off the bat is the fucking worst. Like I remember when I was first going through it and just sitting in the studio and writing, like I would just sit there and be crying, and like Drew would come in the room and be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, just leave me alone. And like I just like sit there and keep writing. So no, when you're first going through it, you're just constantly beating your head, and like it just feels awful. But once you start creating off of it, you do get a sense of relief, I guess, comfort. Like now I can listen to those songs, and it is the most comforting thing in the world. Before I would listen to Crazy, and I would just immediately I couldn't even go through like 30 seconds of it. I'd start crying.
Word. Talk about the video for that joint, because was that sort of the first week that you guys were out in LA shooting that? How did that come together?
Which one, Brown's Annie?
Brown's Annie.
So Evan McKnight, he's from Chicago. He's dope. He wanted to work with us, so we started kind of talking about like a 3 video shoot thing. So we did Die in a Flashback, Brown's Annie, and Monsoon. But he flew out here. Out here, and I think it was October or something. And man, we took 2 days and we filmed 3 of those videos. It was a lot. I remember saying that at one point we were filming Monsoon, and there was like I was in the middle of the water, and like it was just
that one was chaotic. You really went all out for that.
I ruined a pair of pants I ruined a lot for that. But it was fun. It was a lot like go for 48 hours. But we got it done, and Evan was great to work with. He had a pretty good team, and trying to think of those ideas. It was a lot of back and forth on the phone.
Right.
Just kind of helping him understand where my mindset was at when I was writing it, and that's how we kind of came out with Brown's Annie, of just like trying to like, yeah, it has a lot of heartfelt words in it, and it's just like really heavy, but to contrast it with like just keeping it playful and like I'm okay still, like even though that shit was hard, I'm good, you know. So that was just kind of what we were trying to portray with that video.
Hell yeah.
Is the experience of making videos as much fun as I don't know? And for us, it's fun to watch, but like take us into like making the video, because it's I don't know, like to me it feels like there's a lot of work that has to be done.
With Monsoon, I feel like that's exhausting, man.
That was the last one we were shooting, and by the end of it, I was like, how many fucking more hours we got? But, I mean, that's what it is. Like, you know, we got to do it. At one point, I was like, man, it was Chick-fil-A would sound so good right now. Just go sit on my couch as the waves are hitting me, and I'm like trying to stay up. But I think Monsoon was definitely the hardest one to shoot out of those.
Right. Another one of the records. Oh wait, hold on, Gabe. Another one of the records I wanted to talk about was "Dangerous," which is actually my favorite record off of the whole joint. And I'm a sucker for those Latin beats, and I'm new to it because I'm very white. You know what I mean? It's very new to me. Huh?
I said white boy with some sauce.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole exigence here. But you know, talk about that record. You talked about sort of the Latin influence of your parents growing up. Is that where that sound comes from? What were you trying to do with that?
Yeah. So Drew is also like, he gets into like reggaeton moods and like, how did he even start bringing that in there? Because it was actually a completely different beat when we first did it. It was like real energetic and like not as dark sounding and slow. It was a lot faster. But I don't know, he just started messing with it one day and slowed it down. And he's like, how do you feel about this? And then it was just like a complete different vibe, you know? And then when he started adding those drums, like that pattern, it just felt right, you know? So he kept fucking with that. And then we kind of just started forming the melodies around that a little bit more. Like, especially at the end, it almost sounds like I'm speaking Spanish. But I think I was freestyling at that point, and I just got in a zone. I don't know, I blacked out or something, and that came out. And he's like, I actually really like that. Like, he's like, don't even put words to it. Like, just leave that be the vibe. And in my head, there are some words to it, but we'll just let it be whatever you want it to be, whatever you hear.
I love those little bits of stuff that just come in the studio where it just feels like you blacked out, and that's the record now.
Legit.
And before we wrap up here, talk about the title. What am I looking at with Ghosts on Lubao?
So, like I told you, I feel like I almost kind of ran away from home when all like a few problems started arising, and I guess my lesson in that whole thing was just like, you cannot, like, as hard as you want to run away from your problems, like they will haunt you until you address them. So for months, I just had a whole bunch of just like dreams that were so vivid that I would wake up and I was fucked up. Like I felt like I had gone through it again, you know? So I kept having like my past just pop up in my dreams. So it was almost like ghosts haunting me. And I live on the street Lubao. So one day it just kind of made sense, like ghosts on Lubao. They're haunting me.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Wow. Well, the record's fantastic. We appreciate you stopping by to talk about it. Quickly, at Los Angeles or California, are you able to find several the same interview I read out with Elmwood? I can't remember the online magazine, but you were saying like, you know, hopefully in the next couple of years I'll get more management, expand, you know, get myself out there. Have you been able to achieve that while in California with the additional resources that may not been available here in Chicago?
Well, right now, since everything's been shut down, it's been so tough just getting in sessions and like trying to be more collaborative, just because everyone has been very cautious about it. And you'd be surprised, like a lot of artists actually are taking that real serious. Like for a minute, or not even for a minute, for almost the entire year, like it was very hush hush with studio sessions, you know, it was hard to even get in them. So not yet, but I have made a lot of like just how can I put it? Like I've met a lot of great people. I guess let's just put it that way. And for it being locked down, I'm happy that I was able to at least cross paths with whoever I did, you know?
Yeah.
But this year I've already seen it be more like lenient with people like, hey, you want to stop by the studio, like come through. So I'm excited for this year to just kind of get out there, start networking a little bit more and just start meeting people, you know? It's been such a lonely ass year.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't really realize how much I rely on my friends and stuff to kind of just like get me out of my world.
Absolutely.
There was a story really quickly that when we had a St. Patrick's Day weekend, there were 4 women who came from LA, flew in from LA because LA was shut down. Yeah. And they came to Chicago to hang out. So it's like I understand like your frustration with isolation because they actually like, traveled halfway across the country.
Halfway.
I was like, they're like, yeah, we heard this is a great place to party during St. Patrick's Day. They're like, where'd you hear that? That's not true. They're just looking to go anywhere.
It was so weird walking around St. Patrick's Day this year because no one celebrates it. It's so weird.
They just don't like
be celebrating it in a pandemic, but it's happening. And
yeah,
here in Chicago,
it's a very Chicago holiday in that like nobody else decorates. You know, you go to LA, you go to San Francisco, and they're like, what? Like,
I don't see anyone dressed in green with a little leprechaun hat. Like.
one more LA based question before we get on out of here, and I gotta ask this to all my West Coast people: what's the taco spot, man?
I was just talking about this. I have not found a taco spot. I've been to taco trucks. Like I've been on this mission to find my Mexican food just because I grew like my parents, my aunts. Like I know what authentic Mexican food tastes like, and even Chicago does it really well. You know. So I'm sorry to break it to you. I don't have my favorite yet.
That's not a glowing review for LA. Shout out LA. You've been put on notice. Ness Heads exclusive live on air says yo tacos is mid.
I think I've gone to like 20 different taco trucks and nothing has hit.
I have a homie in San Diego and he says like out there that's where it's at. Like anything close to the border.
San Diego 2 weeks ago. And the food that I tried there was hitting way better. I'm like, all right, I think it's just an LA thing.
Whoa, LA. Yo, she's putting you on notice. San Diego is out hooping you on the tacos. Get your game up, man.
Wolfgang Puck is not doing it for us.
Oh, hell no. I'd rather go to Taco Bell at this point.
Damn, Del Taco with it. That's where we're at.
I swear to God, I legit am getting to the point where I'm like, screw these taco trucks. I'm going to Taco Bell.
I'm not even gonna lie. They're fired. I don't know why Taco Bell smack harder in LA. I just don't know. I don't know what the science is. I don't know what the deal is, but it's true.
It's probably because everything else is bad. So then once you get it, you're like, all right, I need this.
Yo, this is great.
They're gonna kick me out of LA soon.
They're definitely gonna riot.
Your LA rights are going to be prohibited soon, so watch out. Thank you, Vanessa, for joining us to talk about the new album, Ghost of Lubao. It's a pleasure to meet you as well. We wish you the best and hope that you'll stop by once you feel like you're coming back.
For sure, yeah, I'll be in Chicago soon, so I'll hit you guys out.
Oh yeah,
fantastic. Appreciate it. I enjoyed the evening. Thank you.
I'll see you guys.
All right. That was Vanessa Ortiz from Ness Heads. Fantastic. I love the album. I love what she's doing. It's different. Like we're mentioning, it's kind of like this pop trap, but just like a fusion of a lot of different flavors of music. You were mentioning like how she incorporates Latin music. There's this one of the moments, I think it's fusion, right? That incorporates Latin or Spanish lyrics into the record. There's just like a lot to unpack about the album. So definitely go give it a listen if you haven't already.
Yeah, man, just an incredible artist, and you can tell just by talking to her how meticulous she is with the release, with the video shooting, with putting sounds together, with getting in mental spaces and training her brain to make more sway lead melodies. It's science, man, and not enough people, especially in this city, pay attention to it like a science. So, shout out Ness Heads and go run it up on all streaming platforms. Ghost on Lubao. You will hear some more records from Ness Heads on the show Break It Sound Radio this Saturday afternoon.